Okay, no, we're starting. Um, hey guys, welcome everybody. You're watching the League of Legends strategy show presented by Osmo.com. I'm here joined by Jeremy Schritt, aka Pick'em Genius. Jeremy, how you doing this morning?
I feel okay. I'm not usually awake this early because LPL's really late, but I'm here to talk some LEC and LCS.
Man, so you're a diehard League of Legends fan then, if you're staying up, because those games range from like 2 a.m. to like 9 a.m. or something, right?
Yeah, you could say it kind of molded my sleep schedule. Yeah.
So, I mean, now that it's the weekend, does that mean you're not sleeping at all because it's like around the clock? LOL.
Yeah, typically on weekends, I'll wake up like for a little bit, check news, make sure I'm not missing anything, and then, yeah, that's about it. I'm awake a lot.
That's awesome, man. Dude, too bad they don't have late swap, or else you could
Oh,
late swap those
please.
4 a.m. like roster changes and stuff.
Yeah, now that we're actually getting like LCK starting lineups before games lock, that would be so good.
Yeah, I know. Like I was a little tilted yesterday because I mean, there's always like a few guys that you can't predict, but LEC, LCS, the rosters are much more predictable. I think there was only one guy that started that I wasn't sure if he would. Um, Yesterday, that was Steelback.
Yep.
Yeah, so sometimes there's some guys that didn't start the last game, but usually pretty predictable. But the second day, it's pretty guaranteed that everyone who started yesterday is going to start today, right?
For the most part, yeah. Like it's late in the season now, so some teams who might not have anything to play for might make swaps, but that's why you just keep checking the news.
All right. So this slate, it looks like we got some really one-sided matchups to say the least, because we got FNC versus Team Vitality. They're minus 1,000 favorites. I've been watching some Team Vitality, and they have just been getting smoked pretty much like day to day. So um, we'll go game by game, but I'll start with that because I'm sure this team is going to be one of the more popular of the day.
I mean, they should be. Fnatic still has a reason to play and win. They want to get second place for playoffs, and so they should go strong and they should be able to take Vitality down pretty easily. There should be really nothing surprising that Fnatic does at all. Like they should just play well and they should just win. They should beat up on the team that dies the most in the league. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean those kills. That's the big X factor in every League of Legends game because I mean it seems to vary so much how many kills there are in a game. Last night I was watching this LGD versus Victory 5 game, and I was so tilted because Victory 5 they weren't trying to defend the base at the end of the game, so like LGD didn't get those kills at the end. And it's like how you can't predict that, right?
Yeah, no. And I know that in my brain that it just seems like that, but whenever I need someone to like fountain dive and get those last few kills, it never happens. And then the Wii series in game one, when I don't have a lot of Wii, they're like sitting outside the base just waiting to kill the people that respawn. I'm like, oh no, this isn't good. But yeah, it's just really annoying when it doesn't go your way.
Yeah. And oh, guys, I want to mention that we're going to cover the LCS, the American slate, in the second half of the show. So if you're watching this and it's past the next hour, then make sure to fast forward to the halfway part. All right. So we got who are the best players on the Fanatics that we should be looking at?
So, I mean, it all starts with Reckless. He has the best KDA. He's the best player, in my opinion, on Fnatic. He's really consistent. He has ceiling games. He should have a good matchup against Comp and Jack Troll. So, yeah, I think if you're looking at Fnatic, you have to look at Reckless first.
All right, cool. So I've been working hard at these ownership projections, and I'm looking up Reckless now.
Idea.
He is 27% on the fifth most popular guy in the slate. And two other Fnatic players are number 1 and number 3. That's B Whippo and Nemesis. So I
Wow.
think people aren't most people are going off the Vegas lines. They're going to identify that Fnatic, biggest favorite on slate, kind of the guaranteed win. So when you have guys that are approaching like 30% owned, how does that change how you're going to handle this team?
It depends on the region, for me at least. Like yesterday, Wii was very favored, and I wanted to be under on Wii. Today, I think I would just eat a little bit more Fnatic chalk because I think they are so far and above just better than Vitality that I don't mind getting it. I wouldn't mind getting at least even with wherever the ownership projects to be.
Nice. Yeah, so one of the tools that I've developed for League of Legends DFS is the Top Stacks tool. I just released that with our premium packages yesterday. And on DraftKings, I have Fnatic as an 18% chance of being the top stack of the day, compared to 23% ownership. On FanDuel, they're quite a bit more popular, 31% compared to 31% ownership, same top stack percentage of 18%. And they're not even the most expensive team on FanDuel, which is kind of surprising. But yeah, so have you been playing on FanDuel some of these League of Legends slates?
Yeah, I've been looking into it, especially for LEC, where I like playing G2, and they're just cheaper on FanDuel more often than not. So I've really liked playing G2 over there.
It's funny because G2 is actually the most expensive team today.
Yeah, I know it's a little bit different. I was looking at it and I was like, oh no, G2's just expensive now, so I can't have fun playing G2.
Yeah, so maybe it's time to play G2 on DraftKings. Although they are the most expensive stack on DraftKings as well. So we'll get to that game in a second. But if so many people are playing the Fnatic side of this game, do you see any way you'd get to maybe Vitality as a leverage play?
Not. I don't think it's for me. If you're playing a bunch, like 100, if you're playing 150 lineups, you're gonna have you can have a couple. You're not gonna need a lot to get over the field. So, I mean, crazy things can happen in league, as we've seen. I think so. Yeah, if you take a few stabs, it's probably not terrible.
Yeah, I mean we've seen it as recently as yesterday with Counter Strike. Team Liquid was a minus 1,000 favorite. Dude, yeah, oh man. So you were repping Swole Patrol, I think.
No, I wasn't, but like, yeah, Swole Patrol, let's go.
Yeah, that was crazy, man. You gotta wonder if the match fixing is spread to Counter Strike after that. But
The new pandemic.
yeah, so those minus 1,000 favors sometimes do get upset, and that was huge on yesterday's Counter Strike slate. They actually went down in straight sets. Obviously, League of Legends is a different beast, so I do have Counter Strike projections up for today's slate. Still a little bit of a work in progress, but we'll get there. Okay, so let's move on to the next game here. We got Schalke versus Rogue. Rogue is a minus 200 favorite. Rogue was like the complete shock on FanDuel yesterday, and they kind of had an off day. So do you think this matchup, they might have a better chance to bounce back?
I would say that, where are my notes? I'm sorry. Yeah, like Schalke's been playing really well, but I think Rogue is just, and I think Rogue or Schalke is going to be someone I buy a lot in summer. But for this game, I would play some Rogue because they still need to win. They need to get top 4, so there's no reason for them to not try to win. So yeah, that's it. I would just play. I'd go back to the well.
Yeah, so maybe people have a bad taste in their mouth, especially on FanDuel where Rogue was super, super cheap yesterday. I'm looking at my stats here. It looks like they get a little bit more production out of the mid position, a little less out of ADC than your typical team. So is Larson the guy you're targeting here?
Yeah, Larson does the most damage on the team, and oops, sorry, I just leaked some stats. So yeah, and he has a pretty similar kill participation with Hansama. So yeah, Larson is someone I'd look at because the thing about Larson is that I don't like his matchup as much against Abadage because Abadage's been like really going off recently. So that would be the thing that kind of scares me a little bit. Is just the matchup in general against his lane partner or opponent.
Yeah, so mid laners, they have that one-on-one matchup, so got to be factoring that. Um, so then what do you lean more towards Hansama if you're trying to captain a player from this team?
Yeah, I think it depends on who you're stacking with, obviously, but if you could get to Hansama has had 40-point games, which is something that you do like to see. And I do like his matchup against Inax and Dreams a lot more than I like Larson's against Abadage. I think if I could get there, I would get to Hansama. But I think everyone on Rogue's like pretty playable.
Yeah, and I like the ownership I'm seeing here because they are big favorites, but they're getting eclipsed by teams like Origin and Fnatic as far as the most popular of the day. So Rogue is fourth place in popularity. Pretty much everyone is around the same. Larson, 2% captain, Hansama, 3%. So let's go into some general strategy. Like my approach is I try to always stack like usually captain a mid or ADC because it's like if the team goes off, those guys usually have the top performances. They are the most expensive guys on the team. What have you been approaching these slates with as far as captain spot?
Yeah, I really like getting to as much AD carry and captain or AD carry and mid lane captain as possible because they do offer the most upside. For stuff like cash games, you could play two like giant favorites with like a top laner jungle captain and just get like security in knowing that they're going to win for sure. Rogue are pretty big favorites, but as you mentioned, there are bigger favorites on the slate and they are more popular. But if I were playing something like Rogue, I would look to try to get the AD carry or mid lane captain.
Yeah, definitely. Like one of the questions I get more than any other is like people are asking me, you know, I like my roster, but I have the support at captain, and like I'll give my answer to this question in a sec, but I'll let you take it. What would you say to someone where it's like you got a really strong roster, but you got the support captain?
I, it's really weird because a support captain scored like 160 in the LPL LCK slate today. So like, but that's a weird situation where they farmed. So it's not something that you should expect. But again, if you're playing like 150, if you have like 1 or 2% captain spot that's with support, maybe it's fine. I don't think it's the worst thing, but it's not something that I would like to go to a lot.
Yeah. So just to explain that kind of meta is that the AD carry usually okay. So ADC and support team up on the bottom lane. Usually the ADC champion requires a lot of gold, so they're getting the creeps. But once in a while, they'll pick two complementary champions where the support needs the gold, and that gives you a little bit more upside. Um, but to this question, where it's like you have the guys you want, but the captain isn't necessarily the right position. What I generally recommend is like that usually is with two expensive teams. So one of your options is you put your mid or ADC in the captain, and then you punt like maybe the team spot, which is less correlated. Get a like cheap team, hope they win their match, and usually the team spots score between 20 and 30 points, so there's not a lot of variance. So that would be kind of with a spot where I go for some value. How do you handle the team spot?
Yeah, if I were going to punt a team, which I do occasionally, I have like a few lines where I go like 4-2-1 of the team punt because it does, like you said, it offers a chance to get like the mid lane or AD carry captain with like two really good teams.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is a pretty good chance that like two of the best teams will be the top stacks of the day. In which case, you're going to have to relax your stacking rules a little bit. Of course, 4-3 is the most solid way to stack, but you can't do it if they're like two really expensive teams. So one strategy I've been employing a little bit is maybe taking a 4-1-1 stack. I mean, four from the same team, and then every other as a one-off. It's a little bit harder to hit, but it's more unique. That's more on the 3-game or best of 3 series, though. All right, let's go to the other side of this game. We got Shaka, and they're big. They get a lot of production from Abadage, as you said. Is he your target from Shaka if you're picking the upset?
Yeah, like I said, when summer comes around, I'm probably going to like Schalke a lot more because I think people are going to forget that they are playing well now, and there's going to be a little bit of a break. So in summer, I think I'm going to like Schalke a little bit more. But not for now, if I'm going to roster anyone, it's probably going to be mostly Abadage because he's just been playing really well.
Yeah, Abadage, he had 26 fantasy points, 37 and 41 in his last 3 games. So on quite the streak here. How does Schalke rate as far as maybe contrarian stacks for you?
I think that we saw Rogue lose yesterday to SK, and SK is worse than Schalke. So if you can get him at low ownership, which it looks like you can, then you should be able to. I would like taking shots still.
I like it, man. Their ownership I have projected for only 4%, and they have about a 33% chance to win this game as 2-1 dogs. So that's where, like, if you're just optimizing based on projections, you might miss out on some of these teams that are lesser owned but have big upside when they hit. And on this team, it's a little bonus because you have Abadage as kind of the clear star of the team. That gives you a little bit more clarity, like who you should pick at captain. Is that kind of how you'd approach the team?
Oh yeah, for sure, definitely. It's like Abadage and then basically everyone else.
Okay. All right. So the next game we got SK Gaming versus Excel. Excel is the -200 favorite. So how are you approaching this game?
So Excel or SK just beat us, or Excel or SK just beat Rogue, right? This game doesn't mean anything for either team, so there's a chance that this game kind of goes off the rails. Like, you don't want to predict it, but it's a late game. It's a late season game. Neither team really has any reason to try very hard. They might give the fans a show. It's not something that you can look with and like quantify with numbers, but it's something that could happen. And for that, it's like that's why I would have interest in this game. I don't think either team's super exciting, but if there's a chance that this game just ends up with like 20 kills each, then yeah, I'm a little bit excited.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it as recently as yesterday. And okay, just to give you guys the standings here, Excel is 7th out of 10 in the league, 7 wins, 10 losses. SK Gaming is 3-14. So 2 of the weaker teams in the league, and we know in DFS when weak teams play each other, it might not be pretty, but it's usually pretty good for fantasy. So are you going to have shares of both teams here?
Yeah, I would like to just have. I wouldn't force it, but whatever I would get is something I would be happy with.
Okay. So Excel actually, even as a favorite, only 6% owned. So that's the 5th most popular stack. So of the favorites, the least popular. And then on the other side, SK Gaming is only 4%. I have XL as a 14% chance of being the top stack of the day. So you're getting pretty discounted ownership here on both teams, but XL in particular. So suppose we want to start off our lineup with XL. Who are we captaining?
Who are we Well, oof. Crown Shot's like really good, and it's like a really, or not Crown Shot. Crown Shot's really good. Where's my Excel stats?
So we got Mickey and Patrick at mid.
Oh yeah. This is gonna be a little bit weird, but if I think a game might get crazy, I would probably want to captain Mickey because he's already pretty crazy and he's used to being kind of a wild card as is. So I would like to, and it's probably going to be more different. So I would like to like captain Mickey.
Okay. Any love for maybe Expect or Cadrel? It looks like Expect gets a little bit more production out of the top lane than your average LEC player. Not my favorite position, the captain, but what do you think today?
Expect is like, yeah, Expect and Mickey are kind of the, I don't want to say same player, but they both have their potential to like hit it out of the park. So if you felt comfortable with like two favorite teams, like maybe XL and G2, and you wanted to get two Expect captain, that would be fine probably.
Nice. All right. And on the other side with SK Gaming, I mean, as a team, they're not great as evidenced by their 3-14 record. But if you are going to pick some guys, who are you going to be looking at?
I would basically mostly look to Cronshot because I think Cronshot's actually just like a good player. He's kind of not on a great team, but like you see this in other sports where a good player can just perform regardless. And if they're going to win, like yesterday, he had 33 fantasy points. You'll take that.
Yeah, I'll take 33. That wouldn't be too bad. And of course, the matchup today, coming off the win versus Rogue, a little bit easier matchup, I'd say.
Oh yeah,
Um,
definitely.
yeah, so Crown Shot would definitely be the leading guy for the team. As far as pairing the mid lane, I mean, Crown Shot's ADC, do you usually try to get the support guy, in this case, limit on your team if you're picking ADC?
Yeah, most of the time, and just because they correlate like pretty well, it's not like a home run guaranteed slam dunk. And a lot of the times, those rosters will be more popular than not stacking the support with the AD carry. But I think by and large, I still just fall in line with that and have a lot of support with my AD carry.
Yeah, I mean, of course, if you're picking four guys from the same team, like you can only leave off one. So, support. I mean, I've found they don't correlate as far as fantasy that much with any like one position. Like the correlation with ADC was less than I expect, but support tends to get like almost no fantasy production in losing games and a lot in winning games. So, I mean, there's a lot of correlation just based on that.
Yeah.
Next game, we got OG versus the Mad Lions here. Origin being the 200 favorite. Origin sitting at second place in the standings here, 13 wins, 4 losses. So they've had a pretty strong season. Are they going to be one of the top priorities today?
Yeah, especially Upset. Like Upset's just really good, and like both of these teams have reasons to play well. They're both in the playoff race. They both want to get top two or top four. OG wants to get top two, and Mad Lions needs to win to get top four. But yeah, I really like Upset, and it seems like a lot of people like Upset.
Yeah, I mean, I have him projected for almost 30 fantasy points, so definitely one of the higher players of the day. Origin is also my second highest rated stack as far as top stack percentage at 14%. Um, and they're very heavily owned at 22% of the ownership today. So upset, a good captain if you're picking Origin. So do you think, I mean, this being a tough matchup versus with two of the top 5 teams in the league, do you think Origin is a little bit overowned or is it just right?
I think that Origin's just better than Mad Lions, so I tend to think that it's fine. Within the same game, Nuke Duck is less is harder to trust, but he is less owned. So if you wanted to get a little bit different within stacking the team, you could captain Nuke Duck and get a little bit different by doing that.
Nice. And then, of course, Mad Lions. If we like Origin a lot, they might be less of a priority. But they got Humanoid and Karzi at mid lane and ADC. Are you going to take any shots on the upside here?
I think you have to, just because this is essentially like a playoff series, or not a playoff series, a playoff game, and teams can just come out and get it done. So That's like unquantifiable, I know, but like it happens. So like you should take your stabs. You should take your stabs at Mad Lions because they're still pretty solid. I just think Origin's better.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
so of course that means that Mad Lions are pretty low on today. On FanDuel in particular, this game is really expensive. Mad Lions are actually one of the least popular teams because they are priced up a bit. So we were talking a little bit about the LEC playoffs. I know I was watching yesterday, and they're talking about like a losers bracket, and some teams started in the losers bracket. So just explain kind of what the stakes are for this game.
So LEC, yeah, you have a top 4, and then they play 1v4, 2v3, or I don't remember if it's 1v. I'm pretty sure it's 1v4 and then 2v3. But the top team gets to play the worst team, and the second place team gets to play the not worst team. And then the losers of those 2 games play the 5th and 6th seed, and then it runs out with the bottom bracket, and then the final 2 teams meet each other in the grand finals to see who wins the split.
Nice. So it should be pretty exciting weeks ahead of us. Do they play all the games on one day, or is it?
They're best of 3s or best of 5s on the same day. So.
Oh man, best of 5s in fantasy. That's gonna be pretty epic.
All right. Yes.
All right. So this will be a game to watch as far as playoff implications here. And then our final game of the day is Misfits at G2, or Misfits versus G2. G2 is a -300 favorite. I saw Cindy in chat was talking about how she's starting off her lineup with G2, or maybe she tweaked it. They are quite expensive, so their ownership is a little bit less than maybe some of the other favorites. How are you feeling about G2?
I feel like if I could play every G2 player every week, I would just do that, and we would all just be rolling around in money, and it'd be great. But yeah, they are really, really expensive, and that tends to mean I have less of them than I would like to. Also, again, this is hard to caveat or like explain fully, but there was a tweet earlier by G2 that said, we just want both teams to have fun. This was like 4 hours ago. So,
so they gave a little GLHF well in advance.
Yeah, this game Misfits would like to win, and I think G2 can beat Misfits even if they take it not at 100%. So any G2 you get, you should be super happy with.
Okay, so one of the stronger teams in the league, of course, they're number 1 in the standings. And then as far as targets on G2, who are your favorite G2 players?
I just like playing perks more than I like playing caps. That's pretty much it. I think perks in general has a better matchup against Forbidden. I think I just like perks a lot.
Nice. All right, and then on the Misfits side, are there any particular players that you're interested in?
For Misfits, I think most of it would be B-Voy or Razork or and Dandan even, because Wonder can be a little bit crazy, and Dandan's pretty solid actually. So if you could maybe get Razork and Dandan together, and then hope Razork just ganks his lane over and over again and gets him going, that's something that would be pretty interesting.
Nice, man. I like the little top jungle correlation here. So we've covered every team, but I want to go back real briefly. We talked a lot about the mid laners and ADCs, but who are maybe players at the other positions that we should be taking a close look at today?
I think Selfmade from Fnatic's really solid, and so is Whippo, but everyone likes Whippo today. Alfari for OG. He burned a few people last week by going like 0-2-1 or whatever it was in like an 18 kill game. That was interesting. But like he should be in a good spot also today. We touched on Expect a little bit, how that game might get crazy, and yeah, I like those top laners. Oh, and Inspired from Rogue. If Rogue wins, Inspired tends to be pretty active in the game, so I would like a little bit of him.
All right. And then your favorite stack. I mean, there's a lot of great teams today, but who would you start off your roster with?
If I were building one roster, I would try to get upset however possible and go from there. Really.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Mine, I have my top stacks updated, so make sure if you're not a member already to sign up for our esports package. It's going to cover not only LOL but Counter Strike and Rocket League. Um, right now, Counter Strike's free. I don't know if I'll have Rocket League up today, but by tomorrow for sure. All right, so what I'm going to do today, I'm not playing this slate because I didn't have time to make the lineups, but so I'm going to start off with the chalk stack I like. I think Excel, they're just the lowest owned of the favorites, so I'd go with Excel. And then maybe you want to go a little bit chalky with the other stack that you're picking. So maybe I would go for OG because they're just way too cheap today.
They are. They really are.
As far as like which team you pick four guys versus three, do you tend to like try to pick the favorite to be four, or does it not even really matter?
It matters a little bit, but if I'm playing one stack, I'm probably gonna have some four stacks the other way also. But if you're making like a few lineups, I would tend to four stack the more expensive teams.
Okay, it's good. Good to know here. That's kind of what I've been getting to too. But you really do need both teams to win, so leaving some salary on the board is a legitimate option. All right, so let's move on to LCS. Of course, the big slate everyone's looking at is tomorrow, where we can win 100K playing League of Legends DFS. Like, who would have thought this day would come, right?
Yeah, like 2.5 weeks ago, there were like 7 max $12 tournaments with like 1K up top, and now it's like look, Mom, we made it.
Yeah, man, this isn't bad. I mean, it sucks that it took like pausing every other sport to get to this point, but like having some League of Legends DFS to play for 100K, not bad at all. Today we're playing for 50 at this 5 p.m. Eastern slate. The penultimate day of the regular season. So right off the bat, I see that Cloud9, they're the only team that really has a lopsided matchup versus Evil Geniuses. The rest of the games are anywhere between like 100 and minus 150 as far as the favorites. So do you see this slate is pretty wide open?
Yeah, and it's super interesting. I have teams that I like a lot, and you touched on C9. They have a little bit less to play for because they're locked in first. So you got to weigh that in a little bit. But yeah, the slate's pretty wide open, it looks like.
Yeah, so you're mentioning some playoff implications. So what are the teams that really have a lot at stake these last 2 days?
Everybody but CLG and C9.
Okay, so CLG, I take it they're the bottom of the league.
Yeah, they cannot make the playoffs. Everyone else has ways to make the playoffs. And C9 is already locked in first place.
That's yeah, it looks like they're 15-1 on the season. That's pretty incredible. I mean, Evil Geniuses are third in the league at 9-7, and they're minus or they're 267 to win this game. So 72 to 27% in favor of Cloud9 based on the odds. Cloud9 also, they're the chalk team of the day. Pretty much double the ownership of any other team. So is this chalk we should be eating, or maybe look to some other teams other than Cloud9?
I'm more skeptical of C9 because I watched an interview with Niski earlier this week where he said they played CLG tough last week, and CLG is in last place, as you mentioned already. That game was pretty close for most of it. They said that they are trying new stuff out and that they're going to turn it on again in the playoffs. So that has me a little bit worried, especially seeing how owned they look to be.
Yeah, so I don't think the Vegas odds are going to factor that in. So that could be, you get more than you bargained for if you pick them, but uh, they are still big betting favorite. And trying new stuff might be good for fantasy performance. If they're trying to maybe keep the game closer so that they can like actually do like what they're trying out. Of course, in these best of ones, like you only got one shot. So let's start off with Cloud9. So who are the star players in Cloud9?
C9 is weird because like Sven is obviously like super good, and Niski's obviously pretty good. But the person who kind of like holds it all together is Blabber, their jungler. So if I can get to Blabber with C9, I will try to do that as much as possible.
Nice.
Yeah.
So Blabber as a jungler, yeah, he does stand out as kind of like the him and Vulcan get more fantasy production than average in the league at the positions. And Blabber has quite a few games of more than 30 points this season so far. Of course, Sven and Niski have more of the advantageous positions to get there. So, do you see this captain selection as pretty wide open?
Yeah, I think you can make a good case for basically anyone. And if you were talking at the beginning of the split, I'd be like, yeah, you could even roster Licorice as captain, but he's been kind of not as good as he was the year before. So I'd be a little bit more skeptical of doing that. But really, if you have Blabber, Niski, or Sven as your captain, you're probably going to like your lineup.
Nice. So I'd say that Blabber is probably the most contrarian of those options. So if you're trying to go off the board with the chalk stack, maybe get the jungle captain. Um, so any theories of what this trying out new stuff could look like? Like how will that affect the meta here?
There is no idea what Cloud9 might do, considering they already play a little bit differently than most LCS teams in that they're like actually pretty good. So I think that they're just, it's difficult to know what they're going to do, just that they're probably going to win.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I mean, this could be a situation where maybe you look less at the season long stats if they are going to try out new stuff. Like we do see that the strategies affect fantasy performance a lot. Like last week I rostered this guy at ADC and he got like 100 creeps, and I was messaging Jeremy. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Let's work out all the creeps. So like it's all about the champions they pick. We're gonna have no idea because of course they like ban champions at the start of the game. Let's talk about the other side. Evil Geniuses, a pretty good team, but a really tough game to win here. So with Cloud9 being the chalk of the day, maybe you can get some leverage, but Evil Geniuses are the biggest underdog on the board. What do you make of their chances today?
EG has won their last 5 games. They're in really good form. And if C9 is trying new stuff out, EG can beat them. So I think EG is probably getting a little bit overlooked. I wouldn't want to like just smash them, but you don't need to mash them. You can get a little bit and you'll have more and they can win. So I like the spot a little more than most people.
Nice, man. Yeah, you're getting like almost no ownership. 2% on DraftKings of the total ownership and 1% on FanDuel. And minus 277 for Cloud9. That's not that unlikely that they win. It's more than 25% chance. So I don't know if there's anything to this, but I feel like if a bad team's going to beat a better, or like if a team's going to beat a better team, there's this is kind of a theory. I'm not sure if this is true or not, but maybe there has to be a longer game on average for that to occur, just because there'll be less chance that Cloud9 just like totally implodes. Evil Geniuses will have to outplay their normal performance. Do you think there's anything to that where if the underdog wins, maybe they get more fantasy points than people expect?
Yeah, on what you said was like really interesting, right? And that longer games might, over a long period of time, favor underdogs a little bit more, and that's true. I think that they do have a little bit more of a chance to win longer games simply because as the game goes on, death timers are longer. So if you win one fight, you can just like win the game. So it's like a little bit more volatile, and all you need to do is win one fight. So yeah.
Yeah, man, I've experienced that firsthand. It's always painful watching your base fall while you're dead. Evil Geniuses, definitely, if you're just optimizing on Fantasy Cruncher, you might have to tweak some settings to get them in, but you could definitely, in this 27% of the time they win and no one has them, you have a great shot to win a tournament. Next game, the first game, we got 100 Thieves at Team Solo Mid. Team Solo Mid, the minus 150 favorite. So let's start off with 100 Thieves as the underdog. They don't have any players that stand out as like way better than the rest, but Meteos at jungle, a little better than your average jungler, I'd say. Who are your targets on the 100 Thieves?
If I were playing if I were playing 100 Thieves, the first place that I would look at is Someday. And that's because Someday can just take over a game, and it's hard to know when he's going to do that, but he can just demand all of the attention from the entire game. And he can really carry games if he's asked to. And he's their best player. So yeah, I would lead towards playing Someday first and foremost.
Nice. Yeah, so top lane, you're going to want to find some guy that you can kind of bank on, and Someday probably won't get like too much attention, given that he's on an underdog team, so he could be a good contrarian pick. And then on Team Solo Mid, let's see, we got their support Biofrost has been getting a lot of fantasy production compared to your average support. Although the box scores aren't particularly amazing, he did get 17 assists in one game for 37 fantasy points. Who are you targeting on Team Sullivan?
With what you said, the two biggest skill discrepancies in terms of this game are Biofrost over Stunt and Bjergsen over Ryoma. So I think those two spots are the easiest spots to look at and just get to.
Nice. So Bjergsen's the mid laner, and that might be a good captain then because he's going to get more of those kills. So if you're going for Team Solo Mid, would you captain Bjergsen?
I am captaining Bjergsen. I'm captaining a lot of Bjergsen today. So yes, I'm definitely captaining some Bjergsen.
Okay, so you love this matchup versus Ryoma on 100 Thieves.
I do. Ryoma's an import rookie, and Bjergsen's like the veteran of the league. So I really, really like Bjergsen's matchup. Yes.
Okay. And then what about Broken Blade? He's going to be one of those guys where if you look at the box score, he's really going to stand out because in his last 3 games, he has 30, 20, 25, and 37. So he's been getting a lot of fantasy production, and at top lane, it's harder to find guys that really have that upside. How do you feel about Broken Blade?
He's the most expensive top laner by $400. So if I were going to pay up for a top laner, it would be Licorice, who's at 6,800. I have a lot of Broken Blade still because I find you can get to him and still have good lineups because there are a lot of like coin flip matchups today. So you can pay up for him. He just wouldn't be the person I prioritize.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense because Team Solo Mid, they're the second most expensive team of the day on both DraftKings and FanDuel. And being a minus 150 favorite, that doesn't really justify paying that kind of price. You might be better off taking some some more expensive players from a cheaper team. All right. And by that, I mean like being able to afford getting your mid lane or ADC in the captain spot, because I know a lot of times if you're taking the more expensive teams, that's a little bit harder to pull off. All right, FlyQuest at Team Liquid. Pretty much a coin flip here. Team Liquid's a slight favorite. Of course, after yesterday's Counter-Strike performance, we got to be a little bit wary in the League of Legends, right? Unfortunately, we can't get plus 1,000 on this one.
What do you do?
So, Team Liquid, they have one of my favorite names in the league, Double Lift. I thought he was like a weightlifter, but it turns out he's like a magician. So,
Yep.
Still a cool name. And he's also a pretty solid ADC. So would he be maybe a target from Team Liquid for you?
Yeah, if he's been underperforming the entire split, and he'll tell you that, but he's still really good. And I really like banking on talent and buying talent, even if they're low, like even if they're not performing well. So yeah, I really like buying on talent, and I like playing double lift.
Awesome, yeah. So maybe he can magic do some escape tricks and maybe get some fewer deaths. All right. And then the mid laner is Jensen. Actually, I'm looking here and I've noticed that in the LCS mid lane actually and is about equal to ADC in fantasy production on the season. Is the dynamic in LCS a little bit different than other leagues?
Yeah, every league kind of has their own play style. LCS has some really good mid laners, and that's what they're not actually North American, but they import them so they get the best from around the world. Not the best, but like some really good players from around the world, and that tends to be a spot where they focus on bringing in players from across the world. So the mid lane talent pool tends to be pretty good.
Nice. Yeah, so one thing I notice about mid laners is they tend to score more in losses as a percentage of the team's fantasy production. So, like, obviously, that doesn't really matter that much for DFS purposes. And on the season, ADC and mid lane are about equal in wins. So, that's some interesting stuff to look at where ADC in other leagues gets a bigger share of the prize pool or of the fantasy production. All right. On the other side, FlyQuest. Solo has come in. Was he like someone they recently signed, or did they just promote him from the academy? Because I know he was kind of a surprise starter last week.
Yeah, they promoted him from within, and Solo's been someone that's been around the LCS for a few years already. So he's a pretty known commodity. It's not like a rookie that just popped up. He's been around for a while. So they just wanted to give him a shot, I guess.
Nice. Well, let's see here. I guess he's not looking like maybe the strongest fantasy option today, but that was kind of interesting. You got to keep an eye for these new starters. I remember last week we found out someone was starting through their Instagram. So
yeah, that was really weird.
So there's 10 minutes left before the LEC lock. So is there anyone, if people are looking at LEC right now, that they should be looking to see if they're starting or
not? SK, I think, is mostly it, and Schalke, because Gilead started yesterday for Schalke instead of their normal jungler. Although again, I say that as a normal jungler. Gilead started the year as a normal jungler. He played a few games and then got benched. So look for Gilead. Look for the SK top laner. See if it's Sakre or Venter. And those are the players I would most be looking at. Yeah.
All right, cool. I just got a message from someone in Slack. All right, so on Fantasy Cruncher, if you buy the Fantasy Cruncher add-on for this, you got to upload the projections off the site. So just copy it from the projections page and paste it into upload projections on Fantasy Cruncher. All right. Wild Turtle and Power of Evil. Definitely two of the more interesting screen names, and they play mid and ADC. Are these guys a great target today?
Yeah, I was just looking at ownership, and I'm really surprised to see that they're pretty highly owned. I might need to reconsider some of my roster construction and come in under on both of those two now.
Okay, so this might be an ownership fade for you, I take it.
Yeah, because like I mentioned, I really like buying in on talent, and I think overall Team Liquid is more talented than FlyQuest. So if I can get them at lower ownership, I'm probably going to lean towards doing that.
Yeah, so here's the deal. This is one thing you can use the top stacks for, is to identify maybe teams that are going really overowned. And today, FlyQuest, by virtue of having an average salary that is really low, 5,700, and being about 50-50 to win, they're getting 16% of all the ownership. They're actually the second most popular team, and they're not even a favorite to win their game. So I kind of like your logic there, that maybe we should look elsewhere.
Yeah. It's something I've gotten burned by in LPL recently too. But, I'm going to keep doing it. I think long term, it's just smart to do.
Yeah. All right, so going on to the next game, we got Golden Guardians at Counter Logic. You're mentioning how Counter Logic is one of the they're the only team that's been eliminated from playoffs so far, and Golden Guardians aren't too amazing either. So this might be one where some guys that don't usually produce put up some big numbers. So who are they looking at?
I like this game a lot because I think if one game in the LCS kind of just goes crazy, it's this game. And both of these teams aren't very clean. So I don't know. I really like this game. I like FBI. I don't like Golden Glue very much from Golden Guardians. I think I really like FBI today.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go for golden glue. Like the glue guys never produce it in fantasy anymore, right? You gotta go. That was horrible. But yeah, so FBI at ADC definitely a good target. And what about on the counter logic side? I mean, this is a really weak team, but they have actually a good shot to win today.
Yeah, if I'm starting with CLG, because both of these teams, they die the most. They're the top two highest death teams in the league. So like this game could get crazy and overlooked because these teams are not very good. But from CLG, I like Poe Belcher because I like his matchup with Golden Glue the most. Yeah, I just top lane should be whatever. But yeah, it'd be Poe Belcher mostly from CLG, like to start with.
Nice. Yeah, so these Pobelter, captain, that could definitely work into the lineup. And then Stixay, he was that the guy that was starting last week off Instagram? I can't remember. I think it was.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was him. And I was like, I got to get some Stixay lineups. And he was like 1%. I'm like, come on, Stixay, let's go.
Oh, man. And then he didn't have his big performance till Sunday. So that was kind of.
Yeah, unlucky, but whatever.
That actually works, though. I mean, last night we even saw it where in the Korean League, they announced the starters for the first game, and there was a guy that was different than we expected. I think it was Ghost that was starting.
Yep. I played some Ghost.
Yeah, did you see his ownership? I mean, these last-minute starters, I think they get a little bit less ownership.
Oh, for sure, they do. And that's, yeah, I like forcing in that situation, even if it's not on a good team, because if they do win, then you're going to score points. So and be not owned.
And there's a lot of dead lineups too on that team where they have a guy that's not playing. So
yep. Thanks for the rake.
Yeah, hopefully, we all find ourselves in that spot, and in these leagues where the lock times are staggered, it's pretty much impossible to predict the starters every single time. So we'll talk about maybe some positions to watch out for, some surprises. Well, first let's move on to Dignitas at Immortals are a slight favorite, -150. And we got their ADC Apollo. He has been putting up some big numbers. He had 52 fantasy points a few weeks ago. Is he kind of the guy to start your lineups off with?
Yeah, from Immortals, that would be where I would start because I don't have a lot of faith in Soaz or Aka. And I think that Apollo's matchup against the rookie Johnson is the best matchup for Immortals. And Immortals tends to play a slower game where they just rely on winning like a team fight and then just winning the game. And Apollo tends to perform pretty well in those situations.
Interesting. So they're not a team that really like tries to seek out the ganks and stuff, I take it.
Not really. They are second to last in kills per game. And I think they have the second slowest game duration. Yeah, they do. They have the second longest game duration on average. So they tend to play longer. They try to outsmart you instead of outkill you.
Yeah, so that would be a situation where maybe the team spot goes under look because pretty much the game length and the winning team score are very correlated because there's timers on the Barons and Dragons. So would Immortals be like a team position that you might target?
Yeah, that would be something I would look at. Like Dan once they played like an hour-long game and their team scored really well.
Yeah.
So yes, definitely if you can find teams that opt into longer games, the team position, like all of them can benefit, but the team position is like a really good spot to look at.
Yeah, man. I saw like the Korean League of Legends reporters like going nuts over that game. There's like screenshots and everything, so that was pretty exciting. And for fantasy, like man, damn one. Some of those guys put up like 50 points in that first game. They were pretty much essential for winning last night, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, I was about to check that out also.
All right, so on the other side, Dignitas, how do you feel about maybe playing the upset here?
I really like playing the upset because I don't think that talent discrepancy is super big. I think Dignitas has better solo laners in their top and jungle, or not top and jungle, top and mid lane. I think both of their solo laners are just better than Immortals, and I will be having a lot more of them than I have of Immortals because of that.
Really? So you're really going heavy on Dignitas here?
Yeah, Dignitas opens up a lot of really good lineup constructions for me, or they have. I'll keep looking at that, but what I've gotten with them, I've really liked, and yeah, I think that this matchup isn't super favored either way.
Yeah, so they're the third cheapest team, pretty much tied for cheapest on DraftKings. So they'll pretty much let you get in anyone that you want. Only 7% ownership, 8% chance to be in the top stack. So I like it. So are there any particular players on Dignitas that you think might be worth targeting over the others?
Froggen and Huni and Acadian, just the top side of the map, because they do have the advantage and they can all just score well.
Nice.
So I really like their matchups a lot.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll circle back here. Are there any players that you're looking for as maybe substitution risks today?
Solo and Viper. I guess Stixay could randomly not start for Wind. I don't have that many things I'm worried about in terms of substitutions from the LCS.
Nice. So hopefully we don't get any of these surprise lineups to try something new. But
yeah,
like it's a little bit easier to predict because most of the subs are on like the academy team, right? And
yeah.
Did they play today too?
No, I think the academy rounded off yesterday, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
So I remember seeing a bunch of Twitter posts like we didn't make the playoffs or we did make the playoffs. So I think they finished yesterday, but I could be wrong.
Okay, so there are no like call ups after that. Like I don't understand how.
No. They could call people up, and it could be like another situation where they announce it after lock.
Okay.
But I just keep looking on teams' Twitters and every social media form.
Okay. Fortunately, there's not much injury risk playing League of Legends, so maybe they don't.
My wrist.
Yeah, if any of these guys have carpal tunnel problems, they could get pulled from the lineup. So let's circle back here. Of the games today and LCS, which would be the first one you want to target?
I think the first game I would want to target is the CLG and Golden Guardians, simply because I think that has the most potential to be overlooked while having a good chance at being needed to win.
Nice. Yeah, so we pretty much have to pick the two highest scoring games and then to pick the winners in our lineup. So that would be a good place to start, especially because these teams aren't too expensive. You can pretty much build your lineup around either Golden Guardians or Chronologic. The team I'm actually looking at is Team Liquid. They're just very expensive today on DraftKings. And because of that, their ownership is very low. Even though, I mean, they're like a minus 110 favorite, but they're priced like they're much better favored than that. So I'm projecting them to go very under-owned today. So I'll probably start off my lineup if I was building a single entry with Team Liquid, and then maybe try to make up the value with one of these cheaper teams like FlyQuest or Dignitas. So that's kind of my approach. And then any final thoughts for the audience here?
I don't know. It should be an interesting game. An interesting, like LEC and LCS slates should be different. They should be vastly different. And I think they'll have some interesting games. And I think we'll be surprised by what the optimals are for both leagues today.
Let's talk a little bit about stacks. So usually I recommend a 4-3 stack if you can afford it. And then you go one-offs if you need to do it to make it work. Of course, no one-offs from the same game as other players on your team. So what's your approach to stacking in League of Legends?
Yeah, like just what you said, the 4-3 stack is something I do and I have done for a long time, because when one team does well, typically everyone does well, and you just want all of it. But there are situations where you can get two good teams with the mid lane captain or an AD carry captain, and you have to basically punt the team and hope that it doesn't kill you and that the captain score makes up for it. And that's something that I started doing at the start of this year. It wasn't something that I really looked at, but then I was thinking maybe this could be correct. So data's still not super solid, but I do think that there's potential for that to be good a lot of the time.
Yeah, I like that strategy because with the team position, it's not very correlated with the scores of the individual players. I think I did the math and it was only like a 15% correlation. So that's compared to like 50% between the players. So that's definitely the spot where you don't need to pick the same team as the other guys. And if you get lucky and your cheap team wins their match, you have just as good a shot at a high score for the team. So your odds of having every player in your lineup win are lower because you're picking 3 teams instead of 2. But in a 10,000 or 20,000 person GPP, we're going to need to hit some long shots to win this thing. So, guys, if you don't have the esports package already, make sure to sign up. You get access to my projections for each slate, my ownership projections, and the top stacks tool, which I just released, which gives you the probabilities that each team will be the highest performing of the day compared to their ownership. Make sure to follow Jeremy at Pick'emGenius on Twitter and myself at AwesomeDFS. We'll try to keep everyone updated with the latest breaking League of Legends information. And guys, good luck today, and we'll see you again tomorrow morning. We're going to break down how to win that 100K for that big $300,000 tournament. So thanks a lot for watching, and good luck today.